If you've ever found yourself spiraling down a late-night rabbit hole of what am I meant to do and why haven't I found it yet? And let's be honest, who hasn't? Then you're in the right place. I'm Theresa White, career clarity expert and 5-time certified career coach, and I'm here to help you navigate the question of how to find a career that truly lights you up. On Career Clarity Unlocked, we're all about those light bulb moments. I'm talking to people who are still trying to figure out what they're meant to do, coaching them live to reach that magical, yes, this is it moment. And we'll also hear from those who've already found their dream careers and figure out exactly how they did it. Whether you're looking for inspiration or actionable advice on finding a career you love, I've got you covered. Time to unlock some career clarity. Let's dive in. Welcome back to Career Clarity Unlocked. Today, you're going to get a front row seat to a live career clarity coaching session with the amazing AT. If you've ever felt stuck in your career, wondering, am I even on the right path? Or why does this work drain me so much? You're going to feel this conversation. We're going to dive deep into AT's incredible and non-linear career journey, explore her Sparketype, and unlock powerful insights about what truly lights her up and what absolutely drains her. If you're new to the Sparketype assessment, here's the quick scoop. The Sparketype assessment is a tool designed to reveal the type of work that fills you with purpose, energy, and joy, and the types of work that tend to leave you feeling empty or drained. It is all about understanding your natural impulses when it comes to work, so that you can lean into what makes you come alive and avoid what depletes you. For AT, her primary Sparketype is the Essentialist, someone who is all about creating order, clarity, and simplicity from chaos. Essentialists see a messy situation and feel an irresistible urge to clean it up, organize it, and make it make sense. Total system and process masterminds. Her shadow Sparketype is the advocate, the passionate voice that stands up for people, causes, and ideas that matter. Advocates help spotlight issues, amplify voices, and drive real change in the world. And her anti-Sparketype, which is the work that tends to drain her more, is the nurturer. While she absolutely cares about people, the deep emotional work of holding space and being with others isn't where her energy naturally flows if she had to do it all day, every day. So grab your coffee or a cup of tea, take a walk, or just settle in, because you won't want to miss this real, raw, and relatable moments that are about to unfold. Welcome, AT, to the show. Super excited to hear more about your background and what you're looking for. Before we go into your Sparketype, do you mind giving me a little bit of your career story in a nutshell?
Okay. I've had a lot of things that I've done in my career. I started off as an interior designer and a project manager. So I did that for about 4 years. I then pivoted and started my own entrepreneurial venture of jewelry design and manufacturing. I manufactured jewelry, high-end jewelry, very niche jewelry for my clients, which I developed over a period of 4.5 years, I want to say.
Wow.
And I was exhibiting and selling mostly to wholesalers and then also exporting a little bit across the country. So I did that for about 4.5 to 5 years. So I had that for a bit. And then I decided to just move countries, moved to Canada, did my MBA. So I was there in Montreal for 2 years. And then I've been since then in corporate North America. My career, even over here, has not been a straight line, but I feel like it does kind of make a little bit of sense. So I started in retail just because I feel like because I had had my own entrepreneurial venture, I always thought about starting something on my own, but the investment required is so high if you're doing high-end jewelry specifically. So I really didn't want to put that capital investment in. I then went into consulting. I was in fintech consulting for about a year and a half, and then I switched to management consulting and have been doing that for about 6 years. I've been in 2 companies in that period. What I do is more transformation management. So any organization might need any large organization generally is going through a large transformation, large or small. They're generally going through some kind of transformations which has a technology component to it. So they might be doing platform modernization, moving from legacy systems to modern platforms. They might be acquiring a large company or like mergers and acquisitions. They might be just doing basic optimization. Any change that happens within an organization, there's a lot of hand holding that goes into it. You have to manage stakeholders, you have to manage roadmaps, you have to manage expectations, to make sure everyone is prepped for it. You have to make sure everyone's trained and upskilled for it. And you have to make sure that when it's rolled out, everyone is prepped for it and everyone is aware of what the changes look like. And then you kind of stay and support them till they're okay to let you go or okay to let the consultants go. So I've done that in a variety of spaces where big banks were implementing ServiceNow or some kind of process optimization, where a large Canadian bank acquired a large US bank. And so I was involved in, again, 9,000 employees coming into that business space. So like, how do you make sure that your current employees are okay? How do you make sure that the new employees are okay and all of that? I've done Salesforce implementation. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So that's my transformation management, I want to say, my experience so far. And I feel like I like it depending on the clients, of course, and depending on the project scope. But I've been doing that for a couple.
Super impressive career path. Wow. Wow. Very impressive. Thanks for sharing that. Now, talking a little bit about the Sparketype assessment. So I know you took the assessment and you already read through the basic results, right?
Yeah.
So the Sparketype, it is designed to measure what fills us, what energizes us, and what empties us and what drains us. So it's not there to measure what we're good or bad at. It's really what gives us that feeling that what we do is like purposeful, meaningful. We enjoy doing that work. It really feels really aligned. And for you, your primary Sparketype showed up as the Essentialist. And the Essentialist is someone to take chaos and create order out of that. And that can be in so many different ways. That can be data, that can be people, that can be physical things. But whenever there is chaos, it is the person who comes in and creates a system, a process. Did that resonate with you?
I describe my job as that. That's what I do.
That's what you do?
Yeah. I create order out of chaos. Like if there's chaos, that's me. I'm borderline OCD, so this actually appeals to me also a lot. Like personally as well, my space is always very clean and organized because I can't function in chaos. So I always am trying to make order out of chaos. So yeah.
And is it something you're not just good at, but you also really enjoy?
So this is where I struggle. I feel like there are days when I really enjoy it, but there are days when I'm drained.
Yeah.
And I feel like maybe meeting heavy days are the ones. No, I think I do enjoy it. Yeah, I do enjoy this because I think I know what drains me. So
what drains you?
Repetition. I think doing it once, and if somebody understands it, okay, good, I'm down, perfect. But if it's again and again, and it's like the 10th call, I'm doing the same thing, and you've still not gotten the basics right, because I'm not like that. I've been told something once. I generally have a very detailed note-taking system, which makes me realize exactly, okay, I know exactly what to look at. I know how to refer to that. I don't need to annoy that person who taught me something again and again to kind of teach me that again.
Yeah.
Whereas if someone is constantly asking the same thing again and again, that's something
kills your soul.
I do it once, but not again and again.
Yeah.
I don't have time for that. Yeah.
I relate to that so much. I feel like I'm allergic to repetition. Like I love doing things once, but don't make me repeat it.
Exactly.
Yes. And going at that speed allows you to be really successful. It's just having the people that can keep up with it.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
True.
And what are the pieces of that creating order that are really fulfilling for you, that you really like? Those are what are in general the favorite pieces of your work that you look forward to?
When everything falls together and it flows and everything comes together, so that's really nice. Like I feel some element of chaos has existed in pretty much all my career, And at the end of it, it all kinds of come together. So whether I was doing, I think the most, like I've tried to do a deep dive in this. I feel the most accomplished when I've done 25 things in an hour and then they all kind of flow together and everything is like perfect. So,
Yes.
so it doesn't burn me out
Yeah.
as much as it, like when I get in the zone and I do it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's interesting because right now I am feeling burnt out, but that's mostly because I've been in back-to-back calls like all week.
Yeah.
So when I'm actually doing the work, what drives me is that this sense of coming together and everything's like perfect and like, okay, great, like now we've got it. All of that came to this moment and look how amazing the whole thing is. And it's making someone's life better, whatever, right?
Yeah.
Like it's made the process easier. Everything looks pretty and nice, like it's great. So yeah, that I think that's great. And then the second part would be recognition.
Yeah.
For me, getting that really, really matters. Like I can be doing this again and again, but if I'm not getting recognition, it's really demoralizing, and that kind of just takes away from it.
Yeah. What I'm hearing, and you correct me if I'm wrong, is that creating order, as long as you're in that zone and it's moving towards the direction from chaos to order, it's, yes, this feels good. But the moment there is like delays or unnecessary stuff in the way, like meetings where we just talk about another meeting, where we talk about another meeting, it's like you're like very driven of like, this needs to come together and feel like, oh, yes, this is flowing now. And it feels like the pieces that get in the way of that feel like the heavier lift.
Yeah, it's very unproductive for me when people spend a lot of time not being specific, but talking in circles. So yeah.
Yeah, I get it. And I want to go a little bit earlier in your career. When you think about interior design and jewelry design, I wonder if the Essentialist came in as well there, but in a different way of like when I'm for an interior designer of it's a way of chaos, right? There is different fabrics, there's different colors, there's different furniture. Bringing that together in a way that is a beautiful system, organized, aesthetically pleasing. And I would think the same way for jewelry. There are so many pieces you could make jewelry out of, but creating that order that then comes together. Do you feel that was present there too?
For sure, in interior, for sure. It was a very rewarding career for me. I left because I was falling sick a lot because you have to be on sites where there's a lot of construction. So I'm
Mm.
so I was like, oh, I chose the wrong field. But yeah, it was very interesting because there was the creative part which was satisfied because you have to be creative. But then it was also the order creating part which was satisfied because eventually out of all that chaos, this beautiful thing that came out of it. So it was really interesting that yeah, like it kind of mattered. In jewelry, I felt the most disillusioned because there were months when I would be working nonstop, and then there were months when I wouldn't be because I had my own thing. So it's very seasonal and it's very
Mhm.
client specific. It's very like in India specifically, it's very dependent on, is it marriage season? Okay, so my jewelry orders or whatever is going to go up, and like what I'm doing. So I feel like I felt the most disconnected then because it wasn't as engaging for me as at
Yeah.
the time. So I think that career probably felt the most disconnected to me at the
Yeah.
time. And I think it kind of makes sense now because yeah, I didn't have chaos to make order out of.
Yeah. And I wonder also when when you started your own entrepreneurial journey, that you probably had very quickly developed systems, processes, and that part was probably really fun to create a business. But then once all the businesses and processes and systems are in place, it can feel a little draining for someone who's craving that. Give me some new chaos that I can organize.
Yeah, I felt directionless for the
Mm-hmm.
most part for the longest time. In spite of me doing a lot of things about it, I just felt like I'll give you a little bit more context. I was also jewelry is a field where you need some male presence, specifically some family male presence, because it's you're dealing in product which is very expensive, and my family members weren't interested in joining this. Like they had their own things and whatnot. So I felt like my glass ceiling, like was much lower. Like
Yeah.
it was, and I don't want to get into like, I know we have only 45 minutes, so I don't want to get into the specifics, the cultural
Yeah.
connotations, but it felt like I couldn't do more just because of the family and the societal structure, as opposed to what the industry entailed. The
Yeah.
industry was vast and is still vast, but I couldn't do more. So that was also very frustrating because I
That's
couldn't
what,
be as driven as I wanted
yeah.
to be.
That must be incredibly frustrating.
It was. It
Yeah.
was. Yeah.
Moving on to your shadow archetype, the advocate. So the shadow is usually what people use to amplify and do the work of our primary even better. And the advocate is someone who gives voice to spotlight as cause, people, the environment, animals, can be anything, but to really shine a light on something that needs change and being the one to speak up. Did that resonate for you?
Yeah, I generally put a spotlight on anything that's going wrong or anything that needs to be brought up. I'm generally also, like, for me, any kind of women empowerment or building women up in workplaces is a big thing. So I am
Mhm.
generally involved in any of those initiatives. Pretty much, I feel like that kind of appeals to me. So
Yeah.
yeah, I would say I'm the one to speak up. Generally, most people expect me to speak up in a meeting. That's why it's also so draining, because I'm constantly chatting or talking. So like,
Mm-hmm.
people expect me to take the lead. Um, yeah, yeah, I would agree with it.
Interesting. And so I wonder, when you're leading an organizational transformation project, if there is, for example, a group of employees that are kind of left on the side and aren't being involved or not taken into consideration, is that something you feel drawn to be like, no, we need to like make sure that it works for everyone?
Generally, I tend to do that. So like, even in large meetings, I make sure that, okay, if some group hasn't spoken, then I'll ask a representative, like, yes, what's going on, like, is there something you want to bring up? Don't hesitate. In a smaller meeting, for sure, make sure that everyone has a chance to speak
Yeah.
and like no one's getting unheard. I tend to do that even personally in personal life. If I'm in a group friend setting and there is one person who's just not speaking up or whatever, I'll try to include them in the conversation. I kind of almost feel, I don't want to use the word guilty, but feel this need to make sure that they're included. Like, no, 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 what's going on? Like, no, speak up. Like, like, you don't have to feel
Yeah.
left out. So yeah, I tend to do that.
Yeah, so I think that need that comes up for you, that might be where that advocate came from in the assessment of like, you need to. And even if it's not like in a meeting, if you're just looking at that whole transformation from like a macro level that the organization wants to happen, are you automatically thinking about everyone who's going to be impacted or every group of people that's impacted by it and the way
Generally,
they're impacted?
I mean, I've been doing this for a while, so my mind starts thinking like that in general. But yeah, like, I'm looking at all pieces of the puzzle. A lot of times, clients are like, "Oh, I didn't think of that. Thank you for letting me know that." I
Yeah.
I forgot about that or whatever. So yeah, I'm generally looking at every impacted stakeholder unit,
Yeah.
as well as processes which they might have missed, which
Yeah.
might again impact some folks.
Yeah. And I wonder if you're also advocating for the project that you're leading of
100%. I feel like I take my work too seriously. I shouldn't. Like, yeah.
that is where the advocates coming in of like you believe in that transformation, right? They bring you on board as a consultant and they're like, we need this and this to happen. And then you're the one who like, yes, we're gonna make this happen. I'm gonna
Yeah.
take all the chaos and create order out of it. And I'm like, I own this. I'm speaking up for it. If there's roadblocks in the way, I'm making sure that we're moving past them.
Yeah. And if I'm not happy about some workflow or even the whole transformation, I'm pretty vocal about voicing my opinion as well on that aspect. But generally, if I'm on it and I see the value in it, I'm probably a big cheerleader.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you have people that report to you directly?
Yeah.
Do you are you very protective of your team, or like if someone in your team would get mistreated, that you'd be like the one standing up for them, and it's like you're advocating for them?
Um, so I'm protective of my team if I know they're doing a good job. If I know, so I
Yeah,
feel like this sense, and maybe I shouldn't be, because everyone has their own thing, right? Like God knows where they're coming from and what's going on with them at that moment or that
right.
week or whatever it is, like letting the ball drop. It's just how into the project they are or not. Not everyone
Yeah,
takes work seriously the way I do. So
yeah,
I feel like, yeah, like I will stand up when I do it, when I know they're doing a good job. I'm
yes,
seeing that in the project right now, and I'm seeing one person kind of being targeted in my team by the clients, and I know that it's not his fault. So I'm like, I have raised it to all levels of leadership across the board within my consulting firm
yeah,
and within my client's firm, making sure that no, no, we need resources. You can't put so much work on him. This is not
yeah.
accurate, etc. So I
That
guess I
is,
do
yeah,
if I know that that
yeah.
person's worth it.
And that is also the advocate. It's not just advocating for anything or everything, like the advocating for the things you stand behind.
Yes.
Yeah. And when we just talked about that, I also want to touch on the anti-Sparketype, the nurture. And again, the Sparketype is nothing saying that you're good or bad at, or that you care or don't care. It is something that if we had to do it all day, every day, it might feel like a heavier lift.
Yeah.
And the nurture is the person who is with someone. They just are with someone. And I have a gut feeling like how it might show up for you. But before I make that suggestion, I want to hear from you how that resonated with you.
I don't know, because I feel like I have a lot of patience and nurturing qualities with kids,
Oh, yeah.
but I don't seem to have that with adults.
And that's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
And so I'm on nurturing isn't something that is one of my Sparketypes. Like I feel like that is a draining one for me too. And I wonder if it is like that. What could be used for an example? Yeah, let's say your employee who was targeted, he's doing a great job. He's doing meeting the expectations, but he's being targeted for whatever reason that aren't fair. The nurturer might feel really fulfilled to just sit with them, to help them feel those emotions and just be present. You care equally much. But if you coming in be like, this is not right, we need to speak up for that. Like you wouldn't just sit there and
No,
be
I would solution. I would immediately solution.
right. You'd be like,
Yeah.
no, like this is wrong. I need to speak up. We need to make this right. We need to, if there's chaos, we need to organize that. But that is where the anti-nurture shows up, that it's not in your blood to just be. It's like, no,
Yeah.
something's wrong. We need to do something about it.
Yeah, I guess you're right. Like for me, it's like, okay, what can we do to fix it?
Yeah.
And what can we do to make sure it doesn't happen again for the future?
Mm-hmm.
So for me, and again, I'm not opposed to teaching or coaching people. I'm just, as I said, if I have to do that again and again, and I'm doing that again and again, just because the person didn't have the presence of mind to actually take notes or organize themselves better when I was teaching, that's what drains me. So yeah, you're right. I can't sit in that. For me, it's action that drives me. What's next? What can we
Yeah.
do to solve this? What can we do to make sure that, okay,
Yeah.
let's move on to let's make sure lessons learned. Let's not do this again.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I can so see that. And obviously, like when you said with children, I can see you being very nurturing and enjoying that. But if you had to do it for a living, where you just, in the most extreme case, let's use the example of a therapist who is just with someone. They're not trying to change. Well, there's some change, but they're not advocating for them. It's to be with someone. That if you had to do this all day, every day, it would be like
No,
just against what you can.
yeah. No, no way. I
Yeah.
can't be a therapist. I know that for a fact. Like
Yeah.
I've actually thought about it, and I have a friend or two who I feel like they'll make amazing therapists because they have that nurturing quality. I don't.
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with it. It's just you go
Yeah.
about things differently. And if you just had to listen and couldn't do something about it or help
Would
them do something about it, it would be like, oh,
Yeah, exactly,
yeah,
exactly. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
And the advocating that you're the one who can speak up. You know, if something is not right or if something needs to be driven forward, you give voice to that. That's also an incredible leadership quality.
Okay.
It doesn't mean that if someone's having a hard day that you don't care. Of course you do. They're your people, all right? But it just isn't natural that you would sit with them. And maybe another manager would come in and they could sit with them for 2 hours and talk about that hard thing that happened. Maybe in that moment, that's a good leadership quality. But if they're disorganized at the same time, that doesn't make them the better manager.
Correct. Okay.
So I don't like there's nothing in a Sparketype that would make you not an excellent leader. It's
Okay.
not just knowing what to lean in. You might not be known for the leader who just spends hours talking to their employees and getting to know them and building really deep personal relationships. You care, but you also care about moving this project forward and developing your people, making sure they have the tools. And that is where your strength lies.
Right. Right. Okay.
How does that resonate?
No, it does. It
Yeah.
does. I feel like I've done that in the past in various formats, in various ways, not just driving the project forward, but also making sure that if someone is struggling with something, okay, what tool can I give you? How can I make sure open a way which is meaningful? You can
Right.
do a lot of, we can do a lot of, just talk, and not really give any actual tool. And for me, it's, it has to be tangible. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, I guess it resonates. Yep.
Yeah. And then the nurture and advocate, they can be closely aligned, but they don't have to. Because the nurture, it's just to be like, I'm here with you. And that fulfills them. It doesn't mean anyone else isn't good or bad at it. I can do that too, even though I'm not a nurturer, but I can do it. But it doesn't fill my cup, like it doesn't overflow my cup. I care and I can do it and I want to do it when I care about someone. But it isn't a thing that if I did it all day, every day, I would be so happy and fulfilled. So that's really the nurture. And the advocate is, I see something that needs to be brought attention to and I'm going to speak up for it.
Right. Right.
So it's a different way of caring about people. It's women, if there's like women hitting the glass ceiling and you're seeing that happening, you might be the one who is not sitting with the women and say like, let's talk about this. Let's talk about this all day. You might be more the one who's like, that's not right. What can we do about that? I'm going to speak up on that for that problem.
Yeah.
Does
sure.
that help to see the difference between the advocate and the nurturer?
It does.
Yeah.
It does. Yeah.
I want to go back to your last roles and think like, okay, what are the times? What is it that just small things? It doesn't have to be big projects, but like daily, weekly things where you're like, I love doing that. And maybe it is, I loved speaking up for that or being the one to advocate for it. And actually with the advocate, it can also, just to put that in there too, that can also be a draining thing when you run into walls. If you're speaking up for something and it's like you're hitting your head against a wall. Like, I don't know if that happened with the jewelry, but it's like there seemed to be that glass ceiling and you couldn't break through and you wanted to. And it's that, oh, how I can't get past it. So it can also become really draining then.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But thinking about the things where moments where you're like either speaking up, giving voice to something, shining a light on something, or where you're taking chaos and created order of it in whatever form. What are moments that come to mind that you're like, I would want to do more of that? That was really enjoyable.
I mean, to be honest, right now I'm so disillusioned by corporate that I can't think of any just because I feel like I'm running on a hamster's wheel here. But yeah, whatever I kind of indicated already, probably elements of that.
Let's talk about the type of chaos. Do you like it most when the chaos is people? and we need to structure workflows, for example? Or do you like it when the chaos is data? Or is it when it's information? Or is it when it's physical things? Where do you feel like enjoying the most when you get to work with that type of chaos and create a system, process, order out of it?
I mean, I don't know if it can apply to a career in the future, but if I was to rate it in order, because I feel like I enjoy all, but the most enjoyment is physical. When I'm creating order out of chaos, out of physical things, that's very, very cathartic for me. Second would be workflows and like people probably. Third would be data. So, but it's not like I would probably group the second and third almost together. But yeah, like physically, definitely it is more. It's like okay, something's messy. Let's figure it out how to like make it, and that for me is very, very interesting.
Yeah. And for the physical, there's also a creative aspect to that. Is it interior design when you're designing the layout of a room, for example? Is it equally fulfilling to do it on the computer as it being in the space? Or is it, even though on the computer it's also creative, it's being in the space that makes the difference? Or is the creativity the difference?
I think being in the space gives a little bit of added value to your design because you kind of then can picture it. So, but would I want to start off in the space? No, I like to start off on the computer. Like that's what I've done it. And then go in the space and figure, okay, this was my vision. This is what I'm thinking. But hey, let's see now how the space evolves. Maybe the light is coming a different way. Maybe rethink that and then go back to the desk and then read it and then go back. So yeah, I like to start off on a piece of paper or something which is not the space, clear my mind, see what ideas come into the head, and then go into the space and design.
Yeah. And just out of curiosity, would interior design ever be an option to go back to, or it doesn't feel like right for you right now?
No, there's just like my degree. I'll have to go through a whole level of certification if I was to stay in this part of the world. Considered it, I've thought about it, but I think I'll have to move, which I'm open to doing, but no, I don't know. No, it's not something that even.
Yeah.
I might be happier, but it's not even something that crossed my mind.
And that's totally okay. So now I'm thinking, okay, we want to organize people and spaces. So the first thing, and there's a lot of things that can come to mind here, but like the first thing is like, if you think about a large event, like let's say a professional conference, where there is a space that needs to be organized and all the people. And someone needs to have all this chaos, all these people, presenters, guests, vendors, and that physical space come together. Would that be, if that would just be thrown at you, would you be like, oh, that would be fun? Or would you feel like, no, that I would not want to deal with that?
Like events planning or something like that?
Yeah, like if we just use the example of one corporate event.
I guess depending on the company, like for me to even imagine doing that for mine right now is just so draining because I feel like I'm a little just disillusioned by it right now. But yeah, I think in some previous companies where I know they would have appreciated, they would have given me the budget, this would have actually been fun to do and do it well and, make sure that people have a good time.
Yeah.
I used to be the consummate hostess before till a couple of years ago. I feel like I'm just drained right now because of my current job. So I feel like it kind of flows into my personal life as well. Like I hate cooking, but I'll make sure that if there's a big spread and everything's looking nice and there's a theme and there's some, activities scheduled and whatnot. So 100%. Yeah.
Yeah. And I get that. When you're really drained or even like in the direction of burnout, it's really hard to find the things that make you come alive. The more drained you are, the more harder it is to remember that anything could energize you. So it might also help to keep thinking about this, not just today, but like also when you have a day off and you feel like your mind has a little more distance to work, whatever it is that energizes you. For some people, it's a walk or nature or yoga session or whatever, or just getting a coffee. Then it might be easier when you do that a couple of times to like remember the things that felt and could feel energizing.
Right. Yeah.
But would you feel that that would be more fun to organize people and physical spaces versus a organizational transformation IT project?
Definitely organizing all of these things in person makes so much more sense to me. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you feel drawn to not being on site all day, every day, but there being a component of you in a physical space.
Oh yeah, like I think my biggest lament over here as well, my work is fully remote. There's no mandate as such, and once in a while I have to travel for work, but it's not a lot.
Yeah.
So I feel very drained because I'm not meeting people and I'm not having communication in person and I'm not building relationships in person, which I
Yeah.
know I'm good at much more in person.
Yeah.
So for me, that is also draining. So yeah, like I would rather go in physically in
Yeah.
person in a job. So
Yeah.
yeah.
When you're thinking about your current role, is it the workload that makes it so draining? Is it the type of work, or is it the environment, the leadership, the physical, like the conditions of the remote work?
No, it's the leadership, it's the culture.
Okay.
It's not the most conducive for growth.
Yeah.
And for someone who's driven, you feel like your career has come here to die
Yeah.
because there's politics everywhere, but merit is recognized in most places. And I'm not like above, like I'm happy to network, I'm happy to make sure that I'm known. But it seems like the gist of this place is if you're doing a good job, let's add more work to your place. But the people who are not doing a good job, let them coast. And that
Yeah.
unfairness of it all just like drives me mad because there are people who are doing nothing. And then there are people who are doing so much and they keep getting added to, but it's not like they're getting any kind of recognition through a promotion or through moving ahead or some kind of achievements. No, nothing is necessarily
Yeah.
recognized. It seems like a lot of lip service without anything
Yeah.
in return. And that drives me a little crazy. Yeah.
Oh,
So
and that would be hard for anyone, but you being an advocate adds to it because you're seeing something wrong, and then it seems like there's nothing you can do. It's
yeah,
just you're supposed to just accept it, and that's against your very nature.
right. Yeah.
So if you would do the exact same work you're doing right now, but in a healthy work environment, would that be fulfilling?
I think so. It might be fulfilling. I don't know. I feel like there are components of my job which can, so because we're in consulting, there is not one thing like, oh, just do your project well and
Yeah.
that's that. No. You're also supposed to sell, you're also supposed to mentor, you're also supposed to develop your expertise, you're also supposed to make sure that you're developing the practice. There are too many KPIs for a limited time in a day. And the fact that I don't get any downtime, so I don't know. Like, I don't know if I've actually thought about it a lot, and I don't know if I'll be happier in another consulting space.
Yeah.
I think I can be doing transformation management and maybe have one more thing on my plate. I addressed sales for the very first time last year, and I really enjoyed it. Like, it was interesting that I never thought I would be happy with sales, but I was. But it it also had a lot to do with the fact that I had a really good boss and she was really invested in my
Mm,
growth. And she cared about me growing in that role because it
yeah.
was something new I was doing. It was not something monotonous. It was I was learning something.
Yeah.
So that was very
Yeah.
interesting for me. So yeah, like
So
I don't know if I would like to be in another consulting firm, but if I'm doing transformation management, should be okay, I think.
that's interesting that you brought up the sales. Somehow I've more than a few advocates who are drawn to sales roles because there's an advocating factor in sales. So
Right.
and they're often the ones who really advocate for the customer or the product as well. It's both, right? You advocate for the product or the service, and then also for the customer. For you, it would just be, is there continuous chaos that you can organize? Because and it can be also super interesting to get into a new space like sales. But like, oh, okay, there's a little bit of chaos. I need to organize like how this is done, how that is done, have a process for this. But is it going to be then fulfilling long term? And that depends. If you have customers who are dumping a lot of chaos on you, and your job as a salesperson is to find solutions to organize that chaos, it totally could.
Okay.
But if that piece is missing, then it might over time feel like, yeah, I'm getting to advocate for them. I get to advocate for the product or the service, but I'm not moving towards this, it was really visible in your body even too, when you said like, when all this chaos comes together and it just flows and it's like, it's that feeling. That is the feeling that you want to get at work.
Right.
So looking for roles where that feeling, where you get to work towards things that give you that feeling.
Okay, so in your experience, essentialists, what industries are they drawn to?
There is really, and I'm going to do research after and send you an email. There isn't necessarily an industry that is, the Sparketype is really hard to say like, okay, if you're an essentialist, you thrive in those industries. It's really more about the role and the environment you're in. It's like, okay, where is someone who's can take chaos into order? Where are they really valued, and where's also someone valued who'll speak up. And I tend to think this is more company than industry specific, because there's going to be companies that really value that, and there's companies that don't value that. And it almost sounds like you're in a company right now where it's not valued in the way of you giving just more work.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem to be recognition that you receive from doing that work, but just you really get more work. So what are the spaces where that talent of yours and also you're moving at such a high speed where are the spaces where they really value someone who can get all these moving pieces, people, things, or even information, data, can organize that, create systems, processes, and isn't afraid to speak up along the way? Where is that valued? What organization, where is that part of the organizational culture? And when you think about these two industries that you've worked in, was there one where you feel those skills in you were valued more than in the other? Where you got to shine? Was that where you had more of those moments of like, oh, it's coming together, and you were actually valued for that?
Okay, and I don't mean this as a humble brag or anything of that sort, but I can honestly tell you that my clients genuinely love me. And I was asked, I'm friends with most of them after the project ended, and I wanted to leave because I wanted to do something else. Like they wanted to hold on to me longer, and these were like long projects. So I think I was given the moment to shine everywhere, because at the end of the day, I know I bring my best self to the table. And I know I'm like really invested in their success. Because I feel like if they're successful, for me, that's my success. I feel like I'm not afraid. Like I know I'll be successful, but like, okay, I do feel things move at a slightly faster pace in retail as opposed to banking, just because there is a little bit more of bureaucracy, which comes with very annoying red tape. And so it drains you a little bit more sometimes, because it takes so much longer to move anything further. Whereas where retail is concerned, things tend to happen faster, just because that's how retail is. It's volatile, it's reactive as an industry, right? Like it has to be to do well.
Yeah. And so now that you said that, and that fast pace is what you like, right? You enjoy some things moving.
I've been in roles where it was pretty easy and I was losing my mind.
Yeah.
So I guess I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if
I'm not able to think of it objectively, because right now I'm burnt out. So I'm not able to think of it objectively, but I'm trying to go back to my past. And when there were roles which didn't feel like I'm learning or growing or accomplishing anything, I wanted to tear my hair out. So yeah, I guess I do like the fast pace.
Yeah. And you also don't like that repetition of like, let's rehearse this one piece 500 times. You're like, no, let's figure this out and move forward. Like, let's get these pieces in order and make this happen. So if you're thinking about faster paced industry where that is valued, retail is most definitely one, e-commerce retail. Tech is another one. And tech was also the one that first came to mind for me when we're talking about where is a lot of chaos and someone is really valued at bringing that together into systems or processes. Mm-hmm. So tech and e-commerce retail are definitely top there. I would also think media and entertainment, and that could be having more of a physical aspect to it in those industries. The fashion industry is a really fast-paced industry. Consumer electronics, I think those would be the top ones that come to mind of. So technology, media, entertainment, fashion, consumer electronics, and e-commerce and retail.
And what roles am I looking at? Like the same thing, like transformation management or change management, or are those the roles that I'm focusing on?
So going back to what you want to organize, you said you're drawn to the physical spaces. Is there anything that we talked about so far where you could see yourself having a component of a physical space organization that you feel like that would be amazing?
Going into the office 2 or 3 times a week, I think.
That would be enough for you too. It doesn't have to be organizing an interior room or an event. Like just being there in person would feel fulfilling enough.
I mean, if I'm given the opportunity to do like women's panels or things like where, because I've done that in the past, but always online because it kind of started virtually. And I've done some where I supported, and I always felt like I want to do more of it because at the time I didn't have as much experience, but now I do. So I do feel like, yeah, bringing issues to light. Let's host a panel. Let's bring some interesting women leaders. Let's talk to them. Let's figure out how we can use this to drive momentum and maybe like have mentors for certain folks who need it, right? Like, yeah, I feel like I had some great mentors and I was lucky enough to have some great mentors. So like, to be able to bring that to others would be amazing. So yeah, organizing those kind of meaningful events always drives me. But yeah, like if it's something like, oh, let's do St. Patrick's parties, like no, that's too late.
No. That's the totally advocate coming through. So one would be like organizing a women's conference, really a meaningful one, not just sitting there for a day, but a meaningful where people get something out of it. There's growth, opportunities for women. That's your advocate, right? Like we want to empower women, we want to give them tools. And then the essentialists come in and be like, okay, all these pieces, I'm going to put them all together for this to come together perfectly. That I think would be like a really, really great feeling for you. Would it be?
I think so, but it's not a role, right? It's an addition to a role. Like you don't have roles like this, or you go into like event planning or something. I don't know.
Right. And I'm not saying you need to go into event planning, but looking for companies or organizations that have an advocacy aspect to them. They really stand for something you believe in. Mm-hmm. They're known for empowering women, or they're known for other things that are important to you. Maybe it's DEI or whatever is the cause that you feel drawn to. Being in that environment would already change a lot for you of being aligned of like the work I do. There's an aspect of it that we're all striving to empower women, if you stay with that example.
Okay.
There are organizations that is their entire mission.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. There's like organizations like Women in Tech, or like there's women's organizations like the Women Network. There is Lean In is a big network. So working for an organization like that, and it doesn't have to be a nonprofit, right? Because then it becomes hard with matching a salary of where you are right now or moving up in salary. But even for-profit foundations, for example, often have, yes, like if you would get to manage, oh my God, I feel like I need to get you in touch with a client I worked with in the past. She got into an organization that's really, really big about community and taking care of the community. And she is the program director of events and community programs.
Oh,
So,
that sounds like a good role.
yeah, so like that is literally her job, is like to bring people together towards that shared mission.
Okay. Yeah, I would love
Um,
to. I don't mind the connection if you're okay with it, but
yeah,
yeah.
I'll connect you after. Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Um, and there has to be a balance, right? Because the more nonprofit, mission driven, the harder it is to get to the same salary as you are in consulting. But if there is like a foundation or a for profit, but that is really all about doing good, like some of these networks, and you would be in a role that organizes their projects or their programs, like takes all of that, everything they want to do, and then structure that into programs or projects that really empower women,
Hmm.
you would be thriving.
You think so? Hmm.
What do you think?
I don't know. I haven't considered them to be very honest, I feel like that's where I'll go when I'm like 55, and just
Got it.
like I'll be there on a board of directors or something. And
Yeah.
I've never considered as a career path in my head.
Yeah. And I'm also not saying it does have to be. You can be you already are very successful, especially with the piece that taking that chaos and creating order. That is what you're doing every day, and you're excellent at it. And you can move up professionally in that lane. I'm thinking if we could find a little bit of a like that purpose or that mission behind doing that, that would give it that extra of like, this is really, really meaningful. It's not just a meaningful project I'm completing, but it's also meaningful for the people that are impacted by it.
Right.
And it is
Right.
in some way, of course, what you're doing impacts a lot of people in a positive way.
Hmm.
But that could add that extra of like, yeah, that would feel really good.
Yeah. I really like the idea of the, not for profit and being there. That sounded very interesting to me. And then e-commerce, retail, tech, those are the industries which I'm kind of looking at.
Yeah.
Um,
Is there any of them that you feel like that would be exciting? Like where in it's really hard for most people to do is to shift from our head to our gut. But when we think about something, sometimes our gut is like, oh, that would feel really good. And then our head jumps in and be like, oh yeah, no, that is not going to work, or you're not going to make enough money. But is there any of these industries where your gut is like, oh my God, that sounds, if I wish I could.
the foundations thing. I think that seemed very like, oh, okay, I think I could do that. And I think I could still make a good career out of it and make a good living and also progress maybe. That seemed weirdly interesting, yeah. Because I've not really thought about that. Everything else, like tech, I know I'm in
Yeah.
it, kind of focusing on it anyway. Retail, I know. Fashion, I think I'm not sure. Consumer electronics is like a subsidy of tech anyway. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm searching here real quick something that I had collected for another client. Okay, yeah. So just to give you a couple of examples, the Coca-Cola Foundation, they have an initiative 5 by 20, and it's aimed to empower 5 million women entrepreneurs by 2020 through training, financial services, and mentorship. Nike Foundation, The Girl Effect, focuses on empowering adolescent girls in developing countries as a way to end poverty. Goldman Sachs Foundation, it's called 10,000 Women, offers women entrepreneurs in developing countries business education and access to capital and networks. Unilever, and I'll send it to you after too. Salesforce Foundation. And that is like, the foundations are great because there's money that they can actually pay people. So Salesforce Foundation supports women in tech and leadership roles through training and scholarships. There's the Intel Foundation, reducing the digital gender gap and improving women's access to tech education. Visa has a foundation, Google.org, MasterCard, and JP Morgan, Women on the Move, advancing women in the workplace, expanding women-led businesses, and improving financial health.
Wow, I didn't even know these larger companies had these large foundations.
Yeah. And so in your case, I think that could be a really beautiful blend of doing work that feels good, but still getting paid for it. Because if you go to a nonprofit and you make $50,000 a year, you might feel good about the work, but it's not an option.
Exactly.
But those companies, and if you're in one of those foundations where it's very mission driven, right? You're doing something that just feels good. And you would be coming in at a director level role, I would imagine, with your background.
So. Yeah.
And being there or even higher. I don't know, what roles are you? Are you VP, targeting VP roles if you were to move out of consulting?
Senior director, I would say.
Senior director.
If it's industry, in consulting, I think consulting principal, not partner, because I don't have enough sales experience. And any like larger technology firm, I think now depends, because Amazon, even senior manager is high.
Yeah.
So, and then a smaller company, if it's like a startup, a VP, again, I think depends on the size of the company, but anywhere between, just depending on the size of the company, some kind of leadership role for sure.
Right. So if you would look at those types of companies or foundations and you're looking, let's say, at director level roles, there is so many moving pieces in almost all those director level roles that need to be organized and come together. If that is programs that are being organized, projects they're running,
managing the P&L, like how do we allocate budget to like all the other places.
And your experience would be incredibly able to, because you've been doing that organizational transformation, like you really know it. You know that in your blood about how to move something through change and bring it all together. And that would be so valuable for those industries and those organizations.
That's interesting. I actually didn't think about this, and this for me does seem like almost a new path, but everything that I've done before this is applicable. And it seems really interesting. Like, it seems like, oh, this would be cool to do this. Like, this would be fulfilling. Yeah.
Wow. What an inspiring conversation with AT. I hope listening in gave you so many aha moments about what it really takes to find and align your career with your true inner spark. Sometimes it's not about working harder. It's about working differently, in a way that makes your soul say, yes, this is it. Through our coaching session, AT gained some incredible clarity about what truly makes her come alive in her work and about what drains her. She realized that designing systems, creating order out of chaos, strategizing big change initiatives, solving complex problems quickly, and advocating for causes she believes in are the activities that light her up the most. She thrives when she's driving transformation projects to the finish line, bringing stakeholders into alignment, innovating new structures for efficiency, and seeing the real visible impact of her work. Based on everything we uncovered, I recommended she explore leadership roles that allow her to fully step into her strength. Roles like Director of Business Operations, Program Manager for Strategic Initiatives, or Senior Director of Transformation Programs. We also discussed some amazing companies that could be a great fit, especially those blending fast-paced innovation with social impact, like Salesforce Foundation, Google.org, the Visa Foundation, or mission-driven companies like Benevity and Change.org. So, if AT's story resonated with you and you're realizing you're craving that same level of clarity and career alignment, I would love to help you too. Head over to careerbloomcoaching.com to book your free career clarity call with my team. Let's make sure that your next career move feels aligned, exciting, and absolutely you. because you are amazing and you deserve a career that is aligned with exactly who you are. Thanks for tuning in, everyone, and I will see you. And that's a wrap for today's episode of Career Clarity Unlocked. If you're feeling stuck in that what's next spiral and are ready to finally break free, let's chat. You can book your free career clarity call where we'll uncover what's really important to you, tackle any obstacles holding you back, and map out your best next step. Schedule your free 30-minute call today on careerbloomcoaching.com. And before you head out, be sure to follow us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify so you never miss an episode. If today's conversation gave you new insights and inspiration, please leave a review. It really helps us reach more amazing listeners like you. And don't forget to share this episode with a friend or on social media. Your support truly means the world. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll see you next time.